My name is Radical Notion. This is the YouTube channel that will be focused on my writing. I'll make videos such as story ideas I have, stories I am writing, which actually there is one that's currently in the works. I'll discuss that soon, but today we're looking at something I wrote back in middle school. And just to preface this, I will read this in its entirety. Spelling errors intact, but at the end there is a twist ending that is written to be funny, and at the end of the day practices my writing skills. So without further ado, here we go. Have you ever had the scariest moment in your life? By the way, I used the wrong "your." Well, this might top them all. Here's my story. Beep beep, my alarm went off, so I got out of bed at 6:30 a.m. to get ready for school. I then did my morning routine: bathroom, shower, get dressed, breakfast. Mom, I'm ready to go. Soon after, my mom got dressed and took my brother and me to school. It took around 5 minutes to get to school. Bye, Mom. On my way to class, I walked with my friends and Mason. Before I went inside the classroom, I saw a fleet of airplanes flying through the sky. I didn't think much of it, so I went inside. In class, we were learning how to bully and treat others with respect. I then saw another plane with a weird symbol I didn't understand. About 10 minutes later after class, I heard a loud roar that made kids look up. Or, excuse me, a loud roar. Chapter 2, Day 1, The Massacre. When I looked up, I saw a bright glowing projectile coming towards the school. Then suddenly, the missile hit a classroom 100 feet away from me, causing me to fly back. Flying back, I was so scared I wanted to believe it was a dream. Sadly, it wasn't. Then when I was on the ground, I saw more missiles and now parachutes landing in multiple parts of the city. I saw troops heading towards the school. Mason, let's get the heck out of here and get home to save our parents. He then followed me, but it was too late. The troops were in the school surrounding it. I opened my backpack and took out a pair of scissors for self-defense. One of the troops yelled, "Kill the kids!" When I heard that, I got terrified and ran towards the hallways with my brother. When I was running, I bumped a troop and he pointed his gun at me. Too bad I stabbed his throat before he could shoot me. He fell to the ground, grabbing his throat in pain as I took his sidearm to better defend myself. When I made it to the hallways, I did my best to avoid any contact with the troops. I saw one about to kill a kid. I angrily yelled, "Look behind you, asshole!" He turned around looking for me, but couldn't see me, so I shot him in the face, killing him. The kid ran up to me and said, "Thank you, you're my hero." I then asked her name. "Stacy," she said. Then in the air, I saw a helicopter coming down in the fields in the distance. When it landed, I noticed on the side of the helicopter it read, "The Alliance." Then I saw heavy gunfire coming from the chopper and killing the troops. Chapter 3, Day 1, Being Saved. When the shooting stopped, I saw kids about 13 come out of the chopper and they said to us, "We're here to help you," they said. Mason, Stacy, and I ran towards the chopper to get to safety. "Get in the chopper," said an Alliance troop. When I entered the chopper, I felt safe from the attackers. The pilots started to take us to their HQ. "Wait, my parents!" I yelled. "It's too late. Look for yourself," he sadly said, pointing out my house. Or was. Please, be in a better place and not killed," I whispered. About 3 hours later, we arrived at the Alliance base, which was in a hidden bunker in an urban city in Bayou City. "We're here," the pilot said. The head troop of the Alliance took us inside. Inside, I thought the place looked fascinating with having lots of cool structures, dome-like feel, and people everywhere. "If you want to avenge what happened, I suggest joining us," the chief said. "Heck yeah," I said. "Mason, Stacy, you in?" I asked. They both nodded, so I asked for training. The chief said, "I don't see why not, but you guys start tomorrow," he said. "In the meantime, I can show you guys around," the chief said. He showed us their armory, which had customizable guns and grenades. He then showed us the rooms that each soldier was given to sleep 9 to 10 hours a night. Finally, he showed us our training camp that we would be in for 2 weeks if we succeeded, but if we didn't, we would stay for 1 more week. "Alright, you guys, you need the rest after a tragedy like this. Please go to your assigned rooms and get some well-deserved sleep." I got room 139. Chapter 4, Day 2, Training Day. I woke up the alarm at 7:30 a.m. to go training. On the way, I saw people going to battle stations. The troops entered tanks, boats, jets, and Humvees. Meanwhile, Mason, Stacy, and I were heading to training camp, walking in a single file line. We walked to the main room for training and me. I was very tired. When we got there, I was put in the same platoon as Mason and Stacy, so we weren't separated. "Welcome to training camp. As you know, you'll be here for 2 weeks if you succeed, but if not, 1 more week, so do your best not to screw it up. In this platoon, there are 6 troops, and I'd like you to introduce yourselves to the platoon," the drill sergeant said. The drill sergeant started at the left of the room with Stacy. "My name is Stacy, and I'm here to get revenge on the troopers who slaughtered my family," Stacy said. After she said that, it looked like she was about to cry, but she tried her best not to. Then the drill sergeant pointed to Mason to introduce himself. "My name is Mason, and I'm from Bayou City, and my city was attacked, so now I want to get them back for what they did," Mason said. The drill sergeant then pointed at me. "I'm from Bayou City as well, and my school was attacked and I killed a soldier. But when I saw guys, I knew I was safe." He pointed at Craig, a very strong kid I assume, since he looked buff and taller than your average 13-year-old. "Hey, I'm Craig, and I'm here to kill every one of those scum troops." He then looked mad, as if he wanted to kill them now. The drill sergeant then pointed at James, a kid who had a nice attitude. "I am James, and I am here because I was rescued from the lines before my mom was executed by terrorists." "By the way, thank you so much for saving me," said James. "Hey, that is what we do, and sorry to hear about your mom," the drill sergeant exclaimed. There was a sudden pause for peace, and then the drill sergeant pointed to Jessica, who was a tough girl. "I am Jessica to overthrow the troops that burned my family alive. The leader will be burned," Jessica said in anger. "Okay, guys, today we will start training on the same basic exercises, and by the way, you can call me Drill Sergeant Ramirez," the drill sergeant said. Then the drill sergeant Ramirez put us in single file line and marched us to the gym. He started us off by doing 25 jumping jacks, military style. On the 18th jumping jack, I realized this training was not going to be easy. After jumping jacks, we quickly went into push-twos and completed 15. By the way, I meant push-ups, but... After this workout, I was running low on energy and started to breathe heavily. "Come on, you can do it," said Drill Sergeant Ramirez. After the push-ups, we ran 2 laps around the camp. "Alright guys, the last thing we will do today is have a virtual war to see how you react in combat, as I know we will need to make changes to improve the team," said Drill Sergeant Ramirez. "I'll be looking for 4 things: accuracy, stamina, strategy, and survival tactics," said Drill Sergeant Ramirez. Chapter 5, Day 2, Combat Training. Each person was put in a different course to see their individual scores. The first test was accuracy, so I walked in the course where one soldier handed me an M9 handgun. Then about 10 seconds later, targets popped us for us to shoot. I pointed my iron sights to the nearest target. The recoil shocked me at first, but I quickly adapted to it. I kept firing at various targets, utilizing my best accuracy. After 3 minutes, all targets dropped. "Next course," said Sergeant Ramirez. I ran until I made it to the next course, which was the stamina test. On this test, you will be on a treadmill, and you will work your speed up to 9 and incline to reach 5. "And let's see how long you can run," said Drill Sergeant Ramirez. I stepped on the treadmill and started to run at a steady pace. One thing I noticed was that the handles on the treadmill has a built-in sensors to detect if we hold on, it will stop the stamina test. I was running for quite some time, then suddenly I started to get tired, but managed to keep going for a few more minutes before stopping. My final time was 23 minutes and 12 seconds. After, I waited 12 minutes for everyone to finish the test. Then, we headed to the next course. This is the strategy test. In this test, you will plan for a specific situation, and we will see how the other soldiers follow through with your plan," said Drill Sergeant Ramirez. I walked into a room with a whiteboard and a monitor to view the results. Over an intercom, Drill Sergeant Ramirez shouted the situation. "Your troops are taking sniper fire from a nearby roof. What would you do?" I drew a line on the whiteboard, a soldier throwing a grenade towards the top of the roof where the sniper was, which would then blow him up. The soldiers took action on my plan. They threw the grenade on the roof, which then killed the sniper. "Last test and we will see how you did," said Drill Sergeant Ramirez. The last test was survival tactics, where we needed to avoid and survive to makeshift explosions and gunfire. I walked through a door and a buzzer went off. "Go!" shouted Drill Sergeant Ramirez. I ran through the war scenario that had buildings, trenches, and obstacles. I then jumped the gap, which put me in the trenches to be safe from the gunfire and explosions. After a long 15 minutes of maneuvering the obstacle, I made it to the end. "Okay, here are the results," said Drill Sergeant Ramirez. "The following are the results of my test, which will determine if I am a go or a no-go on my training. Accuracy, 75%. Stamina, 82%. Strategy, 92%. Tactics, 54%. Overall score, 303% out of 400%. A go. After the first day of training, it was 1930 hours. "Okay guys, time to sleep fast. You have all learned it," said Drill Sergeant Ramirez. Chapter 7, Day 16, Promotion Day. After 2 weeks of training, today is Promotion Day, where we're given the same test one last time. After doing it again, I got accuracy, 91%, stamina, 91%, strategy, 95%, tactics, 90%. Overall, 368% out of 400%. A go. After I received the test, we received our rank and military class. Drill Sergeant Ramirez walked towards Stacy with "Here ranks," as we stand side by side, waiting to receive our rank and classes. "Support," Drill Sergeant said as he walked to Mason. Infantry, he said to Mason, walking to Craig. Infantry, Drill Sergeant Ramirez said. He then walked to James. Scout, Drill Sergeant Ramirez said. Drill Sergeant Ramirez then came to me with a smile. Sergeant, I am very proud of you, sir, Drill Sergeant exclaimed. Sergeant. I am honored, I said, smiling back. Then Drill Sergeant Ramirez walked to Stacy. Infantry, Drill Sergeant Ramirez said. Chapter 8, Day 16, First Assignment. My platoon followed me to the briefing room. When we got there, the chief briefed us on our first mission. Alright, you guys, here's the plan. This is going to be easy for your first assignment. There is a hostage in a holding cell in Iraq. We will specify location via radio. When you get there, kill all targets and rescue the hostage. And Stacy, as support, you go to the LC and stand by if anyone needs help. Any questions? None. Okay, get to the armory and gear up, said the chief. My platoon followed me to the armory block, where each soldier got an armory to customize guns to their liking. When I went to my armory, I got an M16 and colored chrome green and put golden shells in a holographic scope for good accuracy. After I was done, I walked out to the armory and the chopper with my platoon. When I entered, I was required to mount a minigun to protect the chopper from any attacks. After what seemed like forever, I saw a city that looked like a dust-covered city. Must be Iraq, I thought to myself. And in fact, it was Iraq. I realized when I saw a rundown building with Arabian text. Suddenly, my radio makes a tsk noise to indicate someone was trying to communicate to me via radio. Alright, so go to Boulder Street and go in the building in the 6th block and clear all the targets and rescue the hostage, said the chief via radio. Go, 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 said the pilot as the chopper headed so close to the ground. I jumped out of the chopper and grabbed the rope tight as I slid down the rope. I hid behind a wall waiting for the rest of my platoon to come down. A few seconds later, they came up to me and said we should get going. Shh, went my radio. This is Stacy and I'm at the LZ and standing by. Over, said Stacy via radio. We ran through 6 blocks and we found the building. The building had an open area with staircases going up from the sides and an open area downstairs with a maze of a hallway. There was a guard at the entrance and we had to get rid of him. I took out my silencer and put it on the barrel of my M16 and I shot him in the head so he wouldn't squeal in pain, causing help to come to him and back him up. I put a breach in the front of the door to blind the enemies and we could take out the blinded troops. 1, 2, 3, I said before I set the breach charge. We barged in and we shot the enemies while they were holding their eyes. Bullets were flying, causing impact to the troops, obviously, causing them to die. When they were cleared, we separated into 2 groups. Jessica, me, would go down the stairs and look for the hostage. James and Craig went upstairs to look for the hostage. Well, call if we need help, said Craig. Jessica and I were walking through the hallways until I noticed a guard with a knife. Never, and I mean never bring a knife to a gunfight, I said before I shot him. I walked into the room he was guarding to find a kid beat, whipped, and abused. I picked the lock to the cage he was kept in. The cage dropped with a thud, and I helped him up and handed him my M9 so he could defend himself. We walked back to the middle area where I met James and Craig. Let's get back to the base and get this guy to safety, I said. Jessica and James held him by his arm so he didn't fall. We ran to the chopper at our fastest speed, and we ran to the LZ where Stacy was, and the chopper where we can get back to the base. Let's get back to base and get this guy to medical bay for now, and give him these painkillers, Stacy said, giving the poor ally the painkillers. I climbed in the chopper and mounted the minigun, and the pilot waited for everyone else to get on. The chopper took off, and we were on our way to base. Before we left the city, I saw a trooper on the roof, and I pulled the trigger on my minigun and turned him into red mist. After we came back, I rushed the ally to the medical bay, and after I got there, I took him to a doctor to treat him. After I took him to the medical bay, it was dark out, so I went to my room and slept. Sorry for that last sentence, it was pretty chopped up, but yeah, it's written pretty bad, so. Chapter 9, Day 17, Closer to the Edge. I climbed out of bed at 7:50 a.m. for an important assignment. I need the Sanchez platoon in the briefing room, ASAP, the chief yelled. I collected my platoon and we ran to the briefing room. You called us, sir? I said. Yes, I need you guys to go to the troops radio tower and destroy it any way you can. Directions will be specified to the pilot. Any questions? I thought so. Gear up, the chief said to us. After we were briefed, platoon geared up and headed north to the AAL, also known as Alliance Airlines, that had attack choppers, jets, and other war machines that could fly. I climbed in the chopper and mounted the minigun, and my platoon sat in the chopper, holding their rifles. About 3 hours later, I saw a blinking light in the distance. That was the tower. Then I had a great idea to take down the chopper. Hey, pilot, I yelled. Yeah, the pilot replied. Let's shoot the tower with the minigun and take the tower down faster, and I'll shoot the antenna, I said. You know what? That's a great idea. Let's do it, the pilot said. The pilot circled the antenna, and I revved up the minigun and blasted at the antenna like there was no tomorrow. The antenna started to fall to one side, then it fell all at once. Hoorah! I yelled as the antenna smashed to the building under the antenna. We turned around and headed back to base when I heard a whizzing noise from afar. It was an RPG heading for the chopper, so I reacted by trying to shoot the missile, but missed. Then, a sudden impact and explosion later, we were heading to the ground. I woke up minutes after the crash, and I heard the radio near the smash controls. Platoon Sanchez, can you hear? I repeat, Platoon Sanchez, can you hear? Said the chief. I crawled in pain to the radio, and I picked up. This is Sergeant Sanchez, and we crashed near the tower after it fell, and an RPG took us down. I request a rescue chopper, ASAP, I said. I noticed everyone but the pilot lived. So I pulled out each person from my platoon one by one out of the chopper. After a few minutes later, I saw a couple of troops come down over to investigate the wreckage. I took out my sidearms to the last M16. I then took down the troops as I saw the rescue chopper landing. My platoon and I limped to the chopper as Jessica was holding me so I didn't fall. We climbed into the chopper and I lied down in a medical bed and fell asleep too fast to heal the pain. I woke up at the base and I felt a lot better and walked to my room then went to sleep. Chapter 10, Day 18, Winning the War. I woke up at 7:30 a.m. and I went to the armory and replaced my M16 that I had lost in the crash. And I got ammo as well. I need the Alliance to report their battle stations. He needs them to report their battle stations. Oh my god. We are attacking the capital today. We will be one big step closer to winning the war, the chef yelled. Chef. To the Humvee station and climbed in a Humvee with my platoon. James mounted the M60 on top of the Humvee. We drove to the capital, which took about 5 to 6 hours to get there. And when we did, we dropped off Stacy at the LZ to monitor us while we would fight. After she was in the LZ, we drove to the capital, which looked like a White House. The White House. Then, we started to fire bombs, missiles, and gunfire at the capital. My platoon followed me to the capital where we fought the most troops I had ever seen. I took cover behind a crate and started firing upon enemies at the steps of the Capitol building. After we started to run up the steps, I noticed the soldier pointing an AK-47 at me. He shot me, causing me to fall down the steps and yell. "Help me up, someone!" I yelled. Jessica picked me up and said, "We're doing this with you and no way else," she exclaimed. I kicked down the big doors to the Capitol and I saw the enemy leader was, and he said, "So, you finally found me," he said in a deep voice. I then shot him right after that cliche, since I didn't care what he said anyway, and then I said to Jessica, "Do it," I said. Jessica knew what I meant, and she poured gasoline all over the leader's body and threw a lighter at the gasoline and lit the fire to his body. My platoon then walked out of the Capitol to be greeted by the chef, thanking us for the kill. Fucking chef bullshit. Greeted by the chef, thanking us for killing and burning the leader. Then my squad and I ran back to the Humvee and got settled in. I took charge of the turret. The captain said via radio. "Now let's take back the city," the captain said. He was talking about taking back a city in Baghdad. By the way, that's literally spelled the bag space dad. Because the terrorists took it over and took the civilians as hostage, so we had to save them. Of course, by now, the enemy is intimidated by getting their ass handed to by kids. Funny to think. Anyway, Craig was driving us to our drop-off zone in a rugged, bleak city called Ballard. We drove through the almost apocalyptic scenery of Baghdad light, driving past blown houses, buildings, and roadblocks by terrorists made from trash cans and barbed wire, blocking the capital, so civilians couldn't go in and try to kill the leader. From the intel of this city is run by the military, and that means that it's like a modern Nazi situation but with terrorists. Also, the intel said that there is a lot of IEDs in the city, so that's why we brought a juggernaut suit to defend it, to defuse any if we run into any in the distance. We were driving for about an hour until we reached a roadblock that wasn't made of trash cans but rather cement. Craig hit the brakes and I said to Craig, "Take your C4 and blow the roadblock." He reacted quickly and ran to the truck of the Humvee and pulled out plastic explosives. Craig sprinted to the gray concrete wall, blocking the entrance to the target area. Craig handed me the trigger and we drove to cover by a building 50 feet away. Boom! Went the explosive, and there was a major hole that our Humvee could fit through. Craig and I jumped back in the Humvee and we drove through the rubble that was the concrete wall. "You guys in the city yet?" said the captain via radio. "That is a yes, sir," I said to the captain. "Alright, get to the church and rescue the civilians inside," said the captain. "Hoorah!" I said. According to my GPS, the church is 2 blocks away, James said. From the detail I received, the church is heavily guarded, said Jessica. Alright then, we should park a block from the church, I said. We drove through the bleak, war-torn streets for 2 minutes till we parked. I walked out of the Humvee, and I gathered with my squad, and we were heading to the church. We scanned the rooftops for any enemies. And then we saw the church. It looked as if they put them in there to feel that they had no power, because the troops everywhere around the church. The church had a blown hole in the roof, and the door was kept shut by metal beams. We saw the church from a street away, and I was thinking of a plan to sneak around the church. Then it hit me. The only way in was from the sewers. Alright guys, here's the plan. We go through the sewers and enter from the bathroom, and we take out any guards and get civilians to the LZ, I said. We ran towards the manhole in the ground cutting through the street, avoiding the guards. Why did I put a comma there? Oh, whatever. When we opened the manhole, the air smelled like a room full of trash. I went in the sewer first, and when I entered, it had signs to get to the church bathroom where we could silently get to the church. The rest of the squad followed close behind, scanning the sewers for any type of threat. We walked for several minutes in the sewers until we reached a ladder, which led to the back door of the church. I'll go first and stay close behind, I said. Roger that, everyone said. By the way, that Roger is spelled like Roger, as in Roger, like as in a person, for some reason. We climbed up the ladder one by one. Then I set a breaching charge on the back door. The door forcefully opened with a piercing bang. We charged in and see helpless civilians handcuffed and facing a wall about to be executed. Then I flashed back to when people were murdered at my school. That sent me a piercing rage through my body, and I opened fire on all the reinforcements with no hassle. The civilians turned around and saw us. "You guys are just kids," someone from the crowd exclaimed. "Maybe so, but you've been dead without us," I said. One man looked up. He looked me dead in the eye, and proceeded to stand up crossing his arms, and look down upon me. "Look around you. You're in a weak-ass story with no plot, no character depth, and horrid description." He chuckled to himself. "I mean, really? You have so many goddamn dialogue tags you could feed the poor." He steps closer, his footsteps echoing in the room. Everyone looked at me, stickers from the left, then the right. Then the whole room was full of chuckles. My heart thumped faster and faster by the second, and I slowly raised my rifle, aiming for his face. "What are you trying to prove here, cunt?" The room fell quiet. The echo of what I just said still living in the room, in the silence. "Me? Nothing. You proved it yourself. And shit, this isn't your first story with no thought-out research, is it? I mean, let's look at the premise here. 13-year-old kids? I mean, I guess that's all you could write for, so you thought no one would think twice about it, but you were wrong, my friend." "Oh." He clears his throat and leaves a big grin on his white, pasty face. "The funniest thing by far, and I mean by fucking far, is getting to Afghanistan by chopper. Like, bravo, man. Bravo on your research. Well, actually, it takes no research to know that you can't just take a chopper from California to Afghanistan." He chuckles again. "Dumbass." Those words settled in the now dead silent room. My finger now light on the trigger with a tight grip. "I'll shoot you right..." "Oh, and writing yourself in the story?" Way to write the most underdeveloped character you can possibly write. It really shows that you write yourself in, you know. And before you get all excited, it's not a good thing. Screaming, I squeezed my finger on the trigger with the most forces I could. The roars of gunfire, shot after shot, filled the air. What the fuck? In front of me, the man still stood there, his arms crossed, the bullets dissolving feet before him, his laughter going into hysteria. He held his hand up and smiled. My rifle soared out of my grip, leaving it idle in the air. Only seconds later, the rifle fell to the ground. Thud. The man lowered his hand and continued to walk toward me. "Are you guys gonna do something for fuck's sake?" I looked toward my now informed flat characters, Jessica, Craig, James, and Mason. But then it occurred to me. They were flat characters, and I don't mean in depth, but literally flat, cardboard cutouts. He pushed them over one by one, each cardboard cutout sending dust into the air as they crashed to the floor. "Don't you understand?" he began. "I'm you, but older, wiser, and with much more writing experience than you will ever have. I mean, really? Boiled coffee beans curing frostbite? Give me a break." I reached down for my sidearm. As soon as my hand got to the handle, a vibrant shock pulsated in my body. Every nerve in my body was stung by an intense vibration. I collapsed down to my knees, that vibration slowly drifting away. You know, I'm glad I never finished this godforsaken story. It was so uninspired, so bland. The man, or me, or whatever, my future me, now stands only inches before me, and looks down as I stay collapsed on my knees. A tingling sensation grows on my cheeks. Tears. "Hey, what are you crying about now? I thought you were this badass who shot people mercilessly and came up with one-liners for practically every moment." He reaches down and grabs my rifle, examines it, and begins laughing once more. What is this shit, a Nerf gun? Oh wait, it is a toy gun, just watch. He swings his knee forward, hitting the rifle from the middle, sending metallic green fragments around the room. Hey, that was a custom rifle from the Alliance! I spouted, gripping my side, slowly regaining balance. It's only fitting that an army of 13-year-olds would have toy-looking guns, isn't it? Where's your boss, chief, chef, or whatever you fucking call him anyway? He snaps his fingers. Screaming came from above, slowly gaining volume. Panels of the roof fell, dust settling in the room like a fog. A figure came crashing down to the ground. Ramirez, is it? He grips the figure by its neck, holding it in front of him, with what seemed like profound strength. So, Ramirez, you're the leader of this so-called alliance, right? Ramirez swung his arms in all directions. How the fuck did I get here? Ramirez too swung his arms around, not even getting close to hitting the man holding him. Ramirez suddenly fell to the ground, his arms quickly reaching for his neck. So, chef, how's the alliance going for you? The man slowly paced around his body, circling him. What the fuck do you want? How did you... I'm just having a fun time messing around in this abomination you call a story, that's all. He chuckles, his gaze shifting towards me. Man, you really know how to pick them, huh? He looks back toward Ramirez. Ramirez, what ails you? He bursts into hysteria. Okay, enough with you. He raises his arm, a handgun forms in his hand. Bye, chef. I leap forward. Before I could reach Ramirez, a bang crackled in the room. Ramirez, no! I reached my hand out, collapsing once more. Yeah, this dumbass story is over now. Footsteps came closer to my direction. Hope it was fun while it lasted. Bye-bye. The floor vibrated. The vibrations grew and grew until it abruptly stopped. I looked up from my crumpled position. He was gone. So there you guys have it. That's my middle school story with a twist ending. I really hope you guys liked that twist at the end. It was pretty fucking funny, if you ask me. It was fourth wall breaking, and it was self-aware, which is really funny. Hopefully the writing was at the end was like better in description and things like that. Although I still know that I need to improve as I'm still learning. I would not say I'm at the peak of my writing, but I would say that I'm getting there. So yeah. If you guys thought this was really funny, just let me know, because like I don't know if this is just my kind of humor, but I find this pretty funny. So yeah. But this being my first video, this is kind of like the pilot to my whole channel. Expect more things like this, or I just talk, maybe next one I'll talk about my story that I'm currently writing, like my legit story, not this joke that you guys just listened to. But hope you guys enjoyed, and yeah, that's all there really is to it. This is Radical Notion, and until next time, see you later.
Oh